because they were the first to tell.
Clemson was still without star quarterback.
After all their hype.
Les Miles to Michigan.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Daily O. We're glad you're with us. I'm Rody Myers. Let's get into our show. The biggest news from this weekend are the election results. It was announced on Saturday morning, finally, that Joe Biden was the Associated Press projected winner of the 2020 presidential election. The president and vice president-elects gave their celebration speech in Delaware that evening, but current President Donald Trump has yet to make a concession speech, which is tradition in U.S. elections. This weekend also filled with controversy over mail-in ballots and alleged voter fraud. Let's take a closer look at that now.
President-elect Joe Biden spent the day with his family, talking to old friends and allies and preparing for a speech. He'll be speaking here behind me tonight, and his supporters already coming and expecting a celebration, expecting those fireworks, expecting to hear from Vice President-elect Kamala Harris and from Biden. You'll likely hear a message of unity today in a statement. He said that there's nothing Americans can't do if they do it together.
A historic victory. The latest ballot counts on Saturday, confirming Joe Biden as the 46th president-elect of the United States. The news ushered in celebrations across the country and prompted a congratulatory call from Kamala Harris, who will become the nation's first female vice president.
We did it, Joe. You're going to be the next president of the United States.
Though ballots continue to be counted, the numbers from Pennsylvania secure Biden's electoral college victory. Biden tweeting, quote, "I will be the president of all Americans, whether you voted for me or not." Meanwhile, President Trump continues to tweet baseless allegations about the ballots cast in Pennsylvania.
There is no evidence of any kind of voter fraud. There is no evidence of illegal votes being cast. In fact, and you don't have to take my word for it, because people throughout the country, nonpartisan election experts, have come out and hailed this election and how it was run.
And the president insisting he will not concede the election.
Obviously, he's not going to concede when at least 600,000 ballots are in question.
But people from coast to coast are taking to the streets to celebrate this history-making win. And President Barack Obama offering his support in an email that reads in part, quote, "I know he'll do the job with the best interest of every American at heart."
And it's not just Barack Obama. World leaders have congratulated Joe Biden. You're hearing similar messages from Democrats and even some Republicans. What we have not heard is that there has been any communication between the Biden and Trump campaign. There has not been any sort of phone call that we know of at the moment. Reporting in Wilmington, Delaware, I'm Camila Bernal. Back to you.
The president-elect and the vice president-elect will take their oath of office on January 20th. Be sure to keep up checking on the news surrounding this election, as it is changing every second. Speaking of President Trump this morning, the president tweeted out that he had fired Defense Secretary Mark Esper. Esper, who has been the Defense Secretary for a little over a year, will be replaced by Christopher Miller, the current director of the National Counterterrorism Center. This comes as no surprise. Just 2 days after Trump's loss in the presidential election, it has been expected for Trump to clear out his members of the administration that he has been unhappy with. The tweet announcing Esper's termination came as a surprise to many, including House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. She said, quote, "The abrupt firing on Secretary Esper is disturbing evidence that President Trump is intent on using his final days in office to sow chaos in our American democracy and around the world," end quote. Esper's replacement, Christopher Miller, is set to take over as Defense Secretary, the acting Defense Secretary, effective immediately. Things have been pretty tense with the election this past week, but not everyone is having a bad time. We've got word that one town in Kentucky had some fun with their mayoral election.
That's right. Here, my arms is the new mayor of Rabbit Hash, Wilbur Beast. He's a French bulldog who won with the most votes in Rabbit Hash history. He's only a puppy, but he's ready to hit the ground running. Wilbur, how's it feel to be the mayor of Rabbit Hash? Humble, a dog of few words. The 5th mayor of Rabbit Hash is here to help preserve this more than 200-year-old town.
I just thought Wilbur would have a great chance at helping the town preserve what they wanted and still get tourists to come and see this magical place.
I think Wilbur's adorable. I think He's going to do a great job.
Wilbur spent weeks campaigning, and not just with his signs placed around town.
It was a blast. It was absolutely so much fun. Just putting him in different costumes and outfits.
Ah, Wilbur, okay. Yeah, we've been down here a few times and seen him running around.
He seems pretty nice. Seems pretty fluffy.
It was a rough competition. So it was no hard feelings that Jack...
And I have filed my dogs, Fletch and Clark, for the next mayoral election. Sorry, Mayor Joyce. When OSU students were sent home from campus last semester, they had to adapt to new circumstances and had to quarantine. One student, however, had to adapt to an even more frightening situation. Kelsey Howsam has more.
This is the sound of panic. After Oklahoma State University shut down campus in March, many students were left returning to their hometown, to the house they grew up in. Students began shifting their schedules to function within their new work environment. Many students transformed their high school bedroom, living room, or backyard to become a quiet place they could focus on their schoolwork. On the evening of April 9th, Mallory Rogers was doing just that. While studying at her home in Texas, watching her whole life catch flame in front of her eyes, it began to quickly change her life forever.
My name's Mallory Rogers, and on the evening of April 9th, my attic caught fire, taking the rest of my house, belongings, and all the memories I've made in it with it. I was sitting in the backyard with my dad watching TV after getting out of the shower when we started to smell smoke. After looking up and seeing the smoke pour out of the roof, we called 911, but there was not much else we could do. Both of my older brothers were working from home, so we started running inside trying to grab all of the pictures and videos that we could while I grabbed both of my pets.
Watching everything she had ever known become engulfed with flames. One family heirloom after another meaningful keepsake. The furniture and the memories within each room of the home, all encapsulating their own handful of moments that shaped her into who she is, were becoming unpainted images in her head as she was watching it all be ripped away from her by the fire within minutes.
I sat in my driveway for the entire 3 hours that the house was on fire, and not a single second of it felt like reality. Through the burnt walls that no longer stood, I could see the moments that everything caught flame. From the moment that my brother's closets caught on fire to when my bedroom collapsed into the garage. I just felt completely helpless, having no control over the situation and not being able to help in any way.
The Cowboy family is unlike anything that I have ever experienced. Through the highest of highs and the lowest of lows, no matter what we face as students and as a Cowboy family, we're willing to show up for each other. And that was overwhelmingly evident in this emergency of someone that some of us knew and some of us didn't. And we were willing to give our time, our belongings, our hopes and our prayers to make sure that one of our Cowboy family members in need got everything that they needed to get through it.
The items lost in the fire will never be able to be replaced, but the love they felt in the OSU community will never be forgotten.
We ended up raising about $10,000 for Mallory and her family. What started out as me trying to raise a few $100s, maybe a few $1,000s, turned into something that I never expected to happen.
It's crazy to think that the Venmo that started in our close friend group was able to spread all over the OSU community into different group me's. That was the reason we were able to raise about $10,000.
Throughout this entire experience, I've learned not to take anything for granted. I've learned that the best things in life are not materialistic. They're the memories you make and the friendships you have. After this experience, I will never forget the love and compassion that the Cowboy family showed me and the rest of my personal family who also attended OSU during this unexpected time in our lives.
Wow, what a story. Thank you, Kelsey. Next, Josh Weisel will get us caught up for the weather. For the Daily O, I'm Brody Myers.
Hi, I'm Will Joyce, the Mayor of Stillwater. As Mayor, it's my responsibility to help develop plans for a variety of resident needs, including roads, emergency services, and utilities. Some of those services are paid for with federal money that the government distributes to states and communities based on Census Bureau data. This is your tax money coming back to our community, but if you or your household aren't counted, we lose nearly $1,200 per person to places like Texas, Kansas, and Arkansas. So help bring that money back to local communities by filling out the 2020 census. This year, it's easy to do. You'll receive a postcard in March 2020 with a unique code for your address. Using that code, simply go online, call, or request a paper copy of the census and fill it out. I want to make sure that you and your whole household are counted in the 2020 census. It's important not just to Stillwater, but to all of Payne County.
Hey, all right, and welcome back. I'm Joshua Weisel here in the Ocala Storm Studios, taking a quick look at some of our weather headlines. We have a chance for some storms later on tonight. So I'll get to that in just a second, but we're going to be getting into this evening and tonight. Oh, might need to go back for me real quick. I apologize for that. Looks like the clicker's having another case of the Mondays again.
That's what I'm saying.
All right, just touch the space bar real quick. Oh, well, I guess we'll just start off with tomorrow afternoon.
It's blank.
All right, so they're working on that behind the scenes for me real quick. All right, there we go. So we're just going to skip that first one and get on into tomorrow afternoon. Mild conditions across the area after we see some rain possibly overnight, late into the later hours of the day. We're going to see 67 over here in the Oklahoma Panhandle, 72 for a high in Enid, 74 in Stillwater and Oklahoma City. Over here to my left, as you can see, 74 in McAllister, 73 in Fort Smith, with mostly cloudy skies with a few patches of sunshine in throughout the day as well. All right, so let's get into Wednesday. We have a strong cold front that will be moving through across the area, so take a look at that. In western Oklahoma and the Panhandle, we're going to see some way cooler temperatures over there near Guyman. We're going to be looking at a high of around 36 as that front's going to move through in the afternoon and evening. Elk City, 56, Woodward, 44, and then over here in Stillwater, we're looking at a high of 64 for the day. Winds out of the west, northwest, excuse me. But that cold front's going to bring some much cooler temperatures. I'll get to that here in a 7-day in just a second. Anyways, here's some good news for any of you suffering with allergies. We're taking a look at that allergy index and take a look at that. No pollutants in the air whatsoever today. That's some good news as the allergens have been bad for the last couple of months or so. But today we're seeing about 0 pollutants in the atmosphere today. So that's some good news for any allergy people like myself. So that's a look at the allergy index. All right, so we do have no risk for severe weather in the Stillwater area based off of the Storm Prediction Center. This is their 1 out of 5 scale. And up here to the north, just west of Ponca City, north of Woodward, this is the lowest risk that they give. That's 1 out of 5 marginal risk. And we have this general thunderstorm risk for Stillwater. The reason I'm mentioning it is taking a look at some of the models pre-show, there was the potential that we could see some storms developing across western and central Oklahoma that make their way eventually east towards the Stillwater area. And just to let y'all know, we're not expecting any sort of widespread severe weather. As you can see, that best risk is further to the northwest. Still, even looking at those models, conditions look a little bit more favorable out there, but we cannot rule out a few thunderstorms making their way into the Stillwater area. These will be mostly marginally severe, and when I say that, we're talking hail up to about, let's say, penny to quarter size, depending on what the storms are doing, as well as some winds anywhere from about 45 to 60 mile an hour. Not everyone's going to see this, but that's just the potential with some storms that we could see. Moving on, this is my storm zone, and pre-show, I might drag this a little bit further south after looking at some of the recent models. This is my storm zone that I mentioned. We have a 20 to 30% chance for this activity across the area that I shaded in orange. This will be for the potential for some thunderstorms that could be capable of, let's say, winds anywhere from 45 to 60 mile an hour, and some hail anywhere from penny to quarter sized. Widespread severe weather is not anticipated. As you can see, not everyone's even going to see storm activity in general, but it's just something to keep an eye on as we head later into the evening. These will probably start around 11 to about 12 a.m. or 11 p.m. to 12 a.m., excuse me, and later on into the late hours tonight. But again, just something to keep an eye on. So also, just to clarify with those risks, here's the new graph that I've made. Out of the low to extreme, these are the risks that we're looking at. Tornado is very low, so don't worry about that. Winds and hail, like I said, will be the primary hazards again. Hail anywhere from about P to about quarter size is possible, and then winds anywhere from 45 to 60 miles an hour as well. Flash flooding is low. That's over here to my left. Some storms could be capable of producing some heavy rainfall, but we're not really talking a flash flood situation, so that's at a very low as well. All right, so for that cold front that I mentioned, again, strong storms possible tonight. That cold front will move through later on Wednesday. We'll still see a high of around 64 on Thursday. I'll step out of the way so you can see the full forecast. But take a look at that. Tuesday night, we could be close to freezing once again with a low of 34. And then after that cold front moves through on Wednesday, we're going to see temperatures kind of plateau before we see a dip in temperatures Friday. And then we will slowly start to warm back up on Saturday. No really good rain chances besides today and Friday. Otherwise, we're expecting mostly cloudy to partly sunny skies throughout most of the week. Highs will be anywhere from around 74 to 62, depending on the day as well. Thank you for tuning in, and be sure that you check back for sports right after this.
Welcome back to the Daily O. I'm Alex Dusky. Let's get into sports. Oklahoma State picked up a less than pretty win against Kansas State Saturday. For big stretches during that game, it was looking more like it would be a loss. But the Cowboys now move to 5-1 on the season. Noah Blackwell has the recap of all of the action.
Oklahoma State loaded up the bus to take on the Kansas State Wildcats in Manhattan, Kansas this weekend. In what was a defensive slugfest, the Cowboys were able to come away with a 20-18 win. In a game with few explosive plays by either offense, true freshman athlete Brandon Presley sparked the team with a 9-yard touchdown, swinging momentum for the Cowboys.
We've had Brandon in there before. He's pretty good at the ball in his hands, and we wanted to start building a little bit of an opportunity for him to get out there and play, and he's done a great job in practice.
A general consensus from the post-game interviews and really anyone watching the game was the gritty performance by running back L.D. Brown. L.D. led the team in rushing with 110 yards on 15 carries, including a few explosive runs, rejuvenating the offense in the second half. L.D. gave his thoughts on playing a game with very limited reps in practice this week.
Very difficult, man, because with Coach Gunny, his post-game speech, he made a lot of sense when he said not to practice all week and then just go out there and just try to turn it on. It's kind of different, man, because the speed of the game is fast. And
the Cowboy defense came up big again, being able to keep the Cowboys within striking distance throughout the whole game. Arguably, the play of the game came from defensive back Jason Taylor, who had a fumble fall in his hands forced by Israel Antoine, returning it 85 yards to put the Cowboys up 20-12 late in the fourth quarter.
It was just playing football. I didn't expect it at all. So when it just came out, I was surprised and just got to running, trying not to get caught, trying to make a play for the team.
Next up for Oklahoma State is a much-needed bye week, coming off 2 physical games. Key players such as Tylan Wallace and Chuba Hubbard look to get healthy with the very anticipated Bedlam game versus Oklahoma up next on the schedule. This is Noah Blackwell for the Daily O.
Thanks, Noah. The Cowboys will now be on another bye week this week, and when they come back, it's Bedlam down in Norman. There was plenty of action from around college football this weekend outside of the Cowboys game. Number 4 Notre Dame upset the number 1 ranked Clemson Tigers after 2 overtimes. Clemson was still without their star quarterback Trevor Lawrence as he continues his COVID-19 protocols after testing positive a few weeks ago. After the game, fans were so overjoyed and excited with the upset, the majority of the fans stormed the field to celebrate, breaking every COVID-19 rule in the book. Players on both teams were still on the field when the rush happened, so now fans will have to get tested with strict penalties for those that don't. The Auburn and Mississippi State game has been postponed after COVID-19 problems in the program, and the LSU versus Alabama game is also in hot water after multiple tests came back positive in the Tigers program. The Pac-12 finally returned this weekend with 4 games being played. 12th-ranked Oregon defeated Stanford 35-14, and 20th-ranked USC narrowly edged Arizona State by 1 point, with the final being 28-27. This Thursday, Bedlam is arriving in the form of soccer as the Cowgirl soccer team will take on the Sooners down in Norman. This game was previously scheduled for the first week of the season, but due to COVID-19 cases in the Sooner program, it was moved to this week. The reigning Big 12 champs unfortunately will not repeat as champs after TCU was named champions of the Big 12 after their 1-0 win against West Virginia. It is the first Big 12 title for the Horned Frogs in program history. Oklahoma State will finish in the top 4 in the standings and will be searching for its 6th win, with more wins means a chance to another season in the spring. This weekend was full of headlines that everyone should know. Here's the rundown. Chase Elliott became the 3rd youngest driver to win a NASCAR Cup title. Jimmy Johnson, Elliott's teammate, a driver with 19 years of experience, retired after the race. Gonzaga opened up as number 1 on the AP Top 25 college basketball preseason poll, with Baylor, Villanova, Virginia, and Iowa rounding out the rest of the top 5. Tom Brady's Buccaneers faced off against Drew Brees' Saints, and it was not the classic fans were hoping for. The Saints beat down on the Bucs and made Brady's night one to forget. After forcing 3 interceptions and holding Tampa Bay to only 3 points, the Saints won and took the lead in the NFC South. The Dallas Cowboys also lost their 7th game of the season, this time with Garrett Gilbert under center. The game was close, but the Pittsburgh Steelers' undefeated record survived the trip to Dallas. Milwaukee Bucks guard Sterling Brown has finally reached a settlement of $750,000 after Brown sued the city over being targeted and tased during a traffic stop in early 2018. And Dodgers third baseman Justin Turner will not face punishment by the MLB after apologizing for his actions after the Dodgers' Game 6 win. Turner tested positive and was pulled from the game immediately, but returned to the field to celebrate, breaking league protocol. And President-elect Joe Biden has been formally invited to throw out the first pitch of the season in 2021 by the Washington Nationals. That's it for sports tonight. Thanks for tuning into our show today, and make sure to follow our social media at @TheDailyO_TV. And you can also watch our show on Roku, Amazon Fire Stick, Apple TV, and on Suddenlink Channel 112. We'll see you back here on Friday. For the Daily O, I'm Alex Dusky. Have a great night.